Hey, Silver Dollar here, just with a earth-shattering update. So bad, sorry. The Shatters, finally, that forum post became an actual component of the game. We've been waiting forever for this one to come out. I think all the people who initially plus one that as their forum signature probably aren't playing the game anymore. But yeah, it's pretty cool though to actually have user-generated content finally get built into the game. So, I mean, I know there'll be a lot of people complaining. Like anytime anything new comes out, people will complain. But I think this, is should be appreciated at least for finally getting out there. And if you go look back on the original thread, I think they captured, the original idea quite well. I'll put a link to that thread below. You can find it on the Wayback Time Machine. So I sped this footage up just a little bit because the playthroughs are pretty long, and I'm not really a big fan of doing extremely long videos. I think this one probably still came out at about 15 minutes, and we get right down to the boss, but unfortunately we don't actually kill the boss. So Shatters came out yesterday. Everyone's been opening the keys up in the Nexus or the Bazaars, it seems, which is fine because you need a really large group to do it. I think I did 4 or 5 of them, and it took, I think I played for 2 hours. So they take a decent amount of time. If you do a full playthrough, I guess it's at least 20 minutes. You need a large group. I managed to stick around for quite a long time in most of the ones that I did, but you'll find that they thin out pretty quick. Part of that is probably just it's people playing the dungeon for the first time, so you'll have people nexusing pretty quick. But we start with huge groups. I don't know how many people, 50 plus for sure, and it always seems to get whittled down to about 10 or so people by the time we get to the second last boss. So it does get tricky. On the final boss, you'll see his little minions have about 1,000 HP heals. So, it looks like you still need a decent number of people when you get down there. So yeah, here you see the bridge just got cut off. That's like one of the first parts of the dungeon where you lose a bunch of people. As soon as you cross over the bridge and start activating, I guess, that boss, the bridge slowly disappears. And if you get stuck on the disappearing part, you'll just be stuck in that purple, nether or whatever it is. And then you'll just have the nexus. This part, yeah, isn't too tricky. The first part, you got to go around and kill all the little, I guess they call them switches. They're the stone statues. There's a lot of minions in there, but it's generally not too dangerous. You just stay clumped together as a big group, and you got to go through, I think, kill 4 of them, then the bridge opens. But yeah, as soon as the bridge opens, you got to make sure you book it across there and get to this part. Everyone, yeah, kind of lines up against this wall, just like you saw before, where everyone lines up in the corner. For this part, after you kill off I think 3 or 4 statues, you all line up against the wall, and as long as you have a couple priests in there healing, looks like everyone's pretty safe. Just watch out for those little purple clouds. So now this is I guess I call this the third section. Like a lot of the dungeon, you'll see you keep getting pushed back into hallways, and you really do have to stay together. For anyone who played, Castle, I guess a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, like the Orcs Castle with, you would have big groups, everyone would stick together and clear a lot of it. Rushing was pretty unheard of. So this is very reminiscent, I guess, of those earlier days, which is good. I think they kind of captured, that group team play aspect with the Shatters, which is kind of nice. So yeah, and here there's, I think, 3 rooms off this main room here, and you got to go in and shoot like the stone statue, which acts as a switch. And yeah, again, it's similar gameplay with these little, I guess they're you have red and blue necromancers, and I think they shoot out those clouds. Everything does a ton of damage, so you really do have to be careful. A lot of the shots are for about 200 health, so you can quickly die. Like those blue spinning wheels that do the darkness on you. I think those, those don't do a ton of damage, but they pierce. So you'll see them, they just go through a huge crowd, and everyone in the crowd gets hit with I think it's about 100 damage, and then you get darkness effect on you. So it is easy. It can be easy to die if you're standing at the front of the pack or something, like Shrew right there. Yeah, and if you rush into a room, you'll sometimes find yourself quickly surrounded by guys. So it can be tough. There's no teleporting in the Shatters, and I think there's already a thread on Reddit about people wanting teleporting in here. That would that would definitely change the game quite a bit. I think at the moment it works well because it does force everyone to stick together, and it seems like everyone's doing playthroughs. But the teleporting would help as far as you wouldn't get left behind if you were a little bit slow and if someone happened to rush ahead or something. But yeah, for now, at least for now, it seems to be working reasonably well. So now we're going into the second switch room off this area here. Again, yeah, it's these narrow hallways, so you kind of get funneled into it, and everyone just sticks together. I'm playing on my sorcerer. Wand classes are pretty popular right now just because, well, it is handy to have a priest in here with both Puri and Prot on. There are a ton of effects, so having the Puri can really help. So one good thing about the Shatters is it's sort of making, priests more relevant after, the pets came out. Pets kind of nerfed or just made, priests and necros a lot less useful. But priests are definitely handy here. And then if you can have a C wand, so you have piercing, that definitely helps in this dungeon as well, because you'll find there's little clumps of enemies. It would definitely be tough to do this on a melee class. You don't see a lot of knights in here. They would probably, the armor break would be handy, but other than the armor break, they're probably one of the least useful classes in here. Pally and Warrior though would be handy just for the buff. So in a way, it is good if you can have a mix of characters, because having the buffs definitely help. Because some of the bosses just have a ton of XP, and the faster you can move through this thing, the better for sure. There don't seem to be any disconnect problems, which is really nice. I know a lot of the times when they put out new content, a lot of people have connection or disconnect issues or lag issues. I've been playing with hardware acceleration on, and even in EU West 2, I found it to be okay with, I think there was 80 people in the server, a ton of projectiles. The lag really wasn't too bad. I think I tried Asia East though, and yeah, that was a little bit rough for me. I think I was black tiling. But yeah, so far, it looks pretty good as far as connection and lag goes. So now I think, are we on? I think we're on the third one now. So I should pay attention more to the actual video, I guess. But yeah, a lot of it is kind of similar gameplay, and you don't progress very fast. So I think the first time I played, I was getting pulled away from my computer, so I had to pause, and then I came back a few minutes later, and I don't think the group had moved anywhere. They'd basically been stuck in an area like this where they were just, shooting as as minions came down. So it is sort of slow. It's slow goings. But it does emphasize the team play for sure. I know this has been out on testing for a while, and everyone's probably seen the videos for that. But I think it really makes a big difference once they roll it out to prod and you see it being played with a large number of players of a mix of skill, mix of characters, mix of pets and everything. So it's kind of nice to see it in full play. And so far, it's definitely not too easy. So I guess that's good. I think a lot of people would say it's too difficult. I'd be worried about bringing in you know, an 8/8 with that had significant amount of fame on it in here. I think I saw Dr. Mini in here in one of them with on some character with 40k fame. Probably insane thing to do. I don't know. If you lag or something, you never know what happens. I think he was typing stuff like "I'm gonna make history if I die," and yeah, he probably would. Okay, so we cleared off those 3 switch statues. Opens up this bridge here. The bridge doesn't actually appear until you have to walk up to it, and then it sort of forms at your feet, which is kind of cool. Okay, sorry, phone call back. Yeah, so this section, once you're in here, this is the second boss, the Twilight Archmage. The first one was that one that looks like a tree, or the Forgotten Sentinel, so the brown, the brown one earlier on. This is probably the first section where you'll end up losing a large part of your group. And you'll see shortly why. It's because all the other previous sections you can almost always back up into a certain area, and it's really, if you're safe, you're fine. But here you just see the bridge disappeared back there. So once you kill off, I think, the 3 or 4 mages, then the bridge will start disappearing. It disappears pretty quick, so that's an area, you lose a lot of people, or you're forced to be in this room, and then these birds fire out quite a lot of shots. Good thing to note, though, is that once these birds spawn, the red one's Inferno, the ice one's called Blizzard, you can run around this area freely because the little Magi generators, those little orb things, they stop shooting the black wheels. So, don't be afraid about running around here, because if you stay on the back wall and you have nowhere to back up to, you'll definitely get screwed by these birds. Now the birds are they're pretty tough. I'm not sure what their XP is at the moment. I was just trying to look on the wiki, but I don't think it doesn't have all the info on it yet. Although the Shatters is already up there, so check the wiki out on Realmai. People have been doing an awesome job getting that updated. Now the boss, though, yeah, he does have, I think, 91,000 HP, and he moves around onto each of these generators, so you can kill all the generators as you're killing the boss. A good tip, though, is kill the boss before killing all the generators, if possible, because if you kill all the generators, the boss sort of goes into this phase where he moves around a lot more and starts shooting a lot more projectiles. So you see here the boss got killed and there's still some generators left. So if you can kill him, that's good. Our group has definitely thinned out a bit. This, though, I think this was our best run out of the 4 or 5 that I did. There was a few times where it was just me and, I think me and Shrooey were the only people left at that last phase. And there was a few other times like that where we either didn't get there or, yeah, just we were down to so few people. This part is tricky. The lava does, as you'll see, about 75 damage. So, it's sort of, I guess, double strength lava. And stronger than the dark water in the epic pirate cave as well. So this part, it's not too bad though. I mean, you just, as long as you're careful, don't go on the lava, and stay back from the mages, you're generally okay. That's the I think they're called the obelisks, those little tree looking things there. I guess they spawn the stone enemies. But yeah, this part again, if you have a decent sized group like this, you can move through it, pretty well. So it's not too bad. There is a final part though. The next section is the boss room, but you'll see once you get to the boss room, this whole part fills in with lava. So again, you can end up getting cut off and losing people. So you just got to kind of keep an eye on who's ahead of you, and if you're getting, don't fall behind, basically. But here you can always back up. So yeah, you can really see here though why the wand classes are very helpful. I don't think anyone seems to be getting too close to any of the enemies. Yeah, there's that. The mages kind of can press you back pretty quick, but it's not too bad. The ones that spawn, yeah, I think it's the archmages spawn those the big blue circle things that do a lot of damage, so those guys get a little dangerous. Alright, we are almost at the boss room, and yeah, I was looking, I was I was pretty positive, I guess, with this group. I thought we were gonna, I thought we wouldn't have too much trouble, but I think at the moment people are kind of getting down the rest of the map, and not enough people have gotten to the boss room enough times to really be comfortable in there. And you'll see there's tons of projectiles, and it's really easy to get the whole group split up. No one knows which minion to go for or what to attack. So you just, everyone slowly ends up nexusing, and you don't go anywhere, unfortunately. This last path is pretty repetitive, I guess. There's not too much going on, but keep an eye on when the boss room coming up, which will be pretty shortly. You'll see the lava. There's another one of these bridges where the lava closes in, so that's kind of a bit of a theme, I guess, for this dungeon, where they keep having these bridges that cut you off. Um, in this case, though, when you get cut off, you would actually die if you stayed in the lava, whereas the last ones, you just get stuck and have to nexus. So, you do have to kind of pay attention. Yeah, it should be right here where it starts. So we activate these guardians, and then, they die. Looks like they die relatively easy. And then look, there's the lava closing in on you, so you gotta kind of run forward. So that's one thing, just to keep an eye out. Now, here's the Forgotten King, and he spits out, he pops these three colorful crystals, so yellow, green, red, and blue. And I heard from someone afterwards saying, target the yellow one first, which I think makes sense just because it does throw out these really large paralyzed projectiles. And that's what actually gets me, you'll see shortly. I just get kind of caught up and you get cornered. No one really knows what to shoot at, so it's kind of crazy. Bam, yeah, I'm gone. But I think people will slowly figure it out, and we should start having some pretty good Shatters runs. So see you in game, and good luck. SLVRTLLR.